Scroll number 3, what I repeat, I become. Napoleon Hill was born in 1883 in a one-room log cabin in the mountains of Virginia. His mother died when he was 9 years old. He had nothing that the world calls an advantage. No money, no connections, no education worth naming, no one standing over him telling him what was possible. What he had was a mind that could be trained. And he spent the next 60 years learning exactly how to train it. The central discovery of all that work was this: the subconscious mind does not judge. It does not weigh evidence or demand proof. It accepts what is repeated to it with feeling, and it acts on what it accepts. That is not a theory. That is the mechanism by which every belief a person holds was built, including the ones that are holding them back right now. Hill called the process autosuggestion. The name does not matter. What matters is the principle behind it. Every thought that reaches the subconscious mind with enough feeling attached to it becomes, over time, a fixed belief. Every fixed belief becomes a behavior. Every behavior builds a result. The chain begins with what I repeat. I have been repeating things for years without choosing them carefully. The thought that said this will not work. The thought that said I am not the kind of person who does this. The thought that said it is too late, too hard, too far from where I am now. I did not choose those thoughts deliberately, but I repeated them, and they became beliefs. And the beliefs built exactly the life those thoughts described. The process runs in both directions. The same mechanism that built the limiting belief can build the replacing one. The subconscious does not distinguish between a thought that contracts and a thought that expands. It responds to whichever one arrives with more feeling, more consistency, and more repetition over time. That is the entire principle. And it is available to anyone who decides to use it deliberately. What I repeat, I become. The subconscious mind is not passive. It is active at every moment, processing, filtering, building the internal model of reality that the conscious mind then acts from. Hill compared it to a garden. Weeds grow on their own. Nothing useful grows without deliberate planting. The garden does not care what goes in. It grows whatever is given to it with consistency and feeling. Most people leave the garden unattended. They let the thoughts that arrive by accident take root. The fear, the doubt, the comparison, the complaint that runs on repeat without ever being examined. Those thoughts are seeds. They grow into the beliefs that feel like facts. And then people wonder why the results of their life feel fixed. Hill was precise about what breaks this pattern. Not willpower alone and not discipline alone. Repetition, but repetition with emotion attached. Plain words do not reach the subconscious. The same sentence repeated without feeling produces no change. But the same sentence repeated with genuine belief, with the feeling of the thing already being true, begins to cut a new channel in the mind. The mind starts to move in the direction the repeated thought is pointing, and over time that direction becomes the only one it knows. This is why what I say to myself in the first 10 minutes of the morning matters more than what I do in the first hour. The subconscious is most open at the edges of sleep, just before sleep and just after waking. Hill knew this. He built his entire system of instructions around it. He told people to speak their intention aloud at those 2 moments, with full feeling, with the image of the thing already complete, as if there were no question about the outcome. What I repeat, I become. The conscious mind is the gatekeeper. It can accept or reject what comes toward it. But most people have left the gate open and unguarded for so long that they no longer notice what is walking through. Worry walks through. Old failure walks through. Other people's opinions of what is possible walk through. and all of it reaches the subconscious and gets filed as true. The practice Hill described is simple in principle and demanding in execution. Choose the thought, state it with feeling, and repeat it at the moments when the subconscious is most open. Do this consistently, not once, not when it feels convenient, but every morning and every night until the new thought has replaced the old one at the level where behavior is actually formed. Skepticism will arrive. That is not a problem. Hill expected it. He said the skepticism itself would fade with repetition, that the mind cannot hold a repeated belief and its opposite for long. One of them will give way. The question is only which one gets more repetition, more emotion, more consistency over time. What I repeat, I become. I am not at the mercy of the thoughts that arrive uninvited. I am the one who decides which thoughts stay. I am the one who decides what gets repeated with feeling at the edges of every day. That decision is the most important one I make because what I repeat long enough becomes what I believe, and what I believe determines everything that follows. Hill built his philosophy from the ground up on one foundation. The mind can be directed, not by force and not by effort alone, but by feeding it the right material, consistently, with feeling, until the new direction becomes the only direction the mind knows how to move. Most people never make that choice. They let repetition happen to them rather than through them, and then they live inside whatever that accident built. He was born with nothing and he built that understanding over 60 years of work. He did not have access to the conditions that most people wait for before they begin. He had access to his own mind. That was enough. It has always been enough. I do not wait for the right conditions before I begin to direct my own thinking. The conditions do not create the belief. The repeated thought creates the belief, and the belief creates the conditions. This is the sequence Hill spent his life documenting. The man who started in a one-room cabin in Virginia with no mother and no money understood this before most of the world had a language for it. What I plant in this mind with repetition and feeling will grow. It has always grown. The only question is whether I am choosing what gets planted or leaving that to chance. The answer from today is that I choose. I plant deliberately. I repeat with intention. I return to this every morning and every night until the thought I am planting is the thought I live from. What I repeat, I become. What I repeat, I become. What I repeat, I become.